Earlier this year, I heard the stories of women working in the Lloyd's market who have experienced bullying and harassment. It was so distressing to hear and to read about. All the more so because this is the market that I grew up in and I'm now enormously proud to lead. Within days of hearing these reports, Lloyd's took action. We set up a 24/7 confidential helpline. And because working in the Lloyd's market is a privilege that we can take away, we said that anyone found responsible for inappropriate behaviour would be sanctioned by their own firms, but we would act too. And that action could take the form of a ban from Lloyd's. We also committed to run a market-wide culture survey, in fact the largest ever undertaken in our sector, so that we can understand what is really going on. And I want to talk to you today about the results of this survey and, more importantly, what we plan to do about it. Our starting point was sexual harassment, and I'm appalled to say that 8% of people told us they'd witnessed sexual harassment in the past 12 months in the Lloyd's market. That's an ugly figure. And behind that number are the heartbreaking experiences of women. Because women usually are the victims. But the survey told us a more complex picture because sexual harassment is only part of the story. What emerged are 4 key themes. Firstly, the experience of women. Lloyd's is a brilliant place to work, but it has to be brilliant for everyone. And right now, the experience of women is much less positive than it is for men. So much so that for every question in the survey, women scored lower than men. Secondly, when there is a problem, not everyone is speaking up. Only 41% believe their concern would be listened to and taken seriously. Next is well-being. 24% of people had witnessed excessive drinking in our market over the past 12 months. That's good for no one, our people, our customers, or our businesses. And maybe that links to the 40% of people who feel they are under excessive pressure at work. And finally, it's a question of leadership. If we want to move the dial, it has to be driven from the top. Now, these aren't problems that are unique to the Lloyd's market, but we are, and I am, utterly determined to take the bold steps we need to drive change. Now, we have been going after this for a while. Earlier this year at Lloyd's, we announced a set of market-leading family-friendly policies for our own employees. And on Tuesday, we launched the 5th year of our annual Diversity and Inclusion Festival, Dive In. But we have to go after it harder. And if you care about something and want it to change, then you measure it. So what are we going to do about it? We will set gender balance targets for the firms in our market, for boards, executive committees and their direct reports to assess gender balance in their leadership teams. We will set a target for the market, we will track progress and will publish what we find every year on an aggregated and anonymised basis to begin with. But if we don't see the dial move, we won't shy away from naming names. We know that diverse leadership teams are good for business. And so next, we're setting up an independent and expert advisory board under the leadership of Fiona Luck, our Talent and Culture Non-Executive Director. At Lloyd's, we're experts in risk, but when it comes to culture, we are behind the curve. But the opportunity here is to learn from what others have done successfully in other sectors, then accelerate and amplify the actions they know work. I am under no illusions that change takes years, and we need to make choices about where we focus our efforts. This advisory group will help us with that and also help us with our third action, and that is to set up a dashboard of metrics to measure the market's progress across the piece. We will rerun our culture survey every year, but there are other metrics like gender pay gap that will tell us if we're doing the right things. We will publish the market's culture dashboard in our annual report every year. Next, we've set up our standards of business conduct. Sound complicated? Well, they're not. It's simple. If you want to work in the market, there are 3 things you must do. Act with integrity. Be respectful and inclusive. always speak up. Do that and you won't go wrong. Don't, and you might be sanctioned by your own firm, but by Lloyd's as well. Remember that working in this market is a privilege. And finally, we have to address well-being. This is a subject close to many people's hearts. We already have more than 120 well-being champions in the market who are trained as mental health first aiders. But we have to increase awareness and open up the conversation. We will be working with a mental health charity to do just that and to guide people to the resources that are already there. We are setting targets, tracking progress and reporting back. We are setting standards and holding people to them. We are taking the best advice so that we can tackle this problem head on, and we are opening up the conversation about mental health. A wise Army general said recently that the standard you walk past is the one you accept. We cannot accept this behaviour. We can do so much better. I'm absolutely confident that by taking these steps, we can move the dial and make Lloyd's Market a brilliant place for everyone, whoever they are.